Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here at my next Avatar comic review. This one's going to be my first Korra comic review because today I'm going to be reviewing the Legend of Korra 2016 free comic for Free Comic Book Day. Just back from attending my local comic book store. I went at... I'll tell the story afterwards, I'll just get to the review straight away. Stick around for my story of Free Comic Book Day if you want to. It won't be too long. But anyway, yeah, first ever Korra comic is this free one before even the other ones. So yeah, our creative team is written by Mike DiMartino, co-creator of Avatar, of course. Art by Heather Campbell, colors by Vivian Ng, and lettering by Michael Heizer, of course. Some quick details about this. It's 10 pages long. It is indeed the story of how Korra and Naga met, as you kind of assume from the cover here. But we really obviously didn't get official preview pages or anything like that. But yeah, it's a nice story. I'll get into the review in just a minute. I'll just say straight away, link in the description to a post up on the site, avatarthelastairbender.online.com, fan site that I run. Has basically pictures, images of all of the pages, so you can read it if you wish. And I also have a written review up there contained within that same post. This is just going to be a less kind of thought out, just talking about the comic here. And also a podcast review of this book will be tomorrow, so if you subscribe to the podcast you'll get it that way. But I'm also going to upload this one to YouTube because it's new content, of course. So yeah, no framing device for this story. Getting into the review, it is straight up all set in the past with just little Korra. There are like 4 panels towards the end of the book that basically cover a little different points of Korra's life, but it's not in any way used as a framing device for why we get told this story. It's about Korra and Naga. Here's Korra and Naga growing up together, and it's really nice at the end. But where we start off, of course, is in the very early days of the Avatar training compound. Katara is training Korra in waterbending as her parents Tonraq and Senna look on, and the only real hint that you have that this is the compound is here is just a little lookout tower kind of set up in a hill nearby. But it seems that Katara has come round and she's teaching Korra some waterbending, and we basically just start off with just this really nice scene where Katara just talks about waterbending is all about slow, calm movements. And then Korra just does this really crazy, earthbending style move and just engulfs Katara in basically snow. And she's really happy about it. But then Senna is like, I'm so sorry, Katara. Korra doesn't seem to know her strength just yet. And, you'd think Katara would be annoyed at getting covered in snow, but she says, it's alright, I've battled more dangerous waterbenders than her. She'll learn to control her power in time. So that's obviously a hint at, like, Hama, I suppose, primarily there, and maybe Paku a little bit. And Tonraq just says, that was a bit too rough, you could have hurt Master Katara, and she just says, I didn't mean to, and they just decide to end the training session because a storm is coming, and Korra's annoyed because she does actually like training and, mastering her technique. That's obviously been Korra's thing as the Avatar. She wants to learn, she wants to become better, stronger, and so on. So her training session being cut short is actually something she doesn't like. And it's just a nice little thing as Katara walks off. Korra's just like, bye, Master Katara, sorry for beating you up. And Katara's just like, that's alright. And yeah, where Naga comes in is that in this storm they start to hear these kind of wolf calls, ow. And Tonraq and Senna are like polar bear dogs. Sounds like a full pack. And Korra's obviously like doing that call as well, mocking it, acting like a kid, but it's really nicely done. And she's just like, I want to go play with them. Tonraq says, you can't, sweetie, polar bear dogs are wild animals, they'd gobble you up in one bite. And she says, they don't scare me, and Senna just says they should. And it's just really nice. And then at night time the howls are still going on, the storm is still going on. Korra puts on her kind of winter coat and walks out into the storm, basically doing the call herself, and comes across a little polar bear dog pup, and is really happy about this. She realizes it's lost, it must be separated from the pack, and she just says, I'm going to be, friendly to you. I won't hurt you. And she gives it some fish jerky. And eventually Naga comes over, eats it out of her hand, and Korra really wants to play with Naga and starts kind of. Korra goes down on all fours and kind of runs around Naga, and eventually they start to play a little bit, but primarily Naga is focused on the fact that she is lost, and Korra quickly realizes that the storm has kind of caught up with her, and now she realizes she's lost too. So the two of them are just caught out in the middle of the storm. You know, it's not a really long way away from the compound, but it's like just enough that like for little Korra here, it would be kind of scary for her. But then we get to Korra's another awesome moment from Korra here, and she says, don't fear, looking for you, I can save us because I'm the Avatar. And she makes this makeshift kind of igloo thing. It's a really cool kind of little montage page here. You can see it more clearly in the link in the description. But Naga's not fully impressed, but it's something to give them some shelter from the storm. And they go in, and Korra's basically like, okay, I'll warm us up a bit, and she tries to use firebending, but it doesn't quite work. She only I suppose she tries to only do a small blast, but it turns into more of an attack rather than like just forming a flame and holding it. And she basically just says, I'm not a very good firebender yet. Master Katara says I have to get good at waterbending before I learn the other elements. I thought being the Avatar was going to be fun, but it's just a bunch of rules. And that's probably the one, I suppose, serious moment in the whole 10 pages. It's just that the one hint that, okay, Korra for the most part is happy with her training, but she doesn't like these rules, like the fact that she can't train in multiple elements at the same time, that she has to do water first because of some rule. But it's nothing too serious now. But at this point, this is when Naga starts to warm up to Korra. She starts licking Korra's hand, and then basically, I suppose the next morning what happens is Tonraq and Senna and Katara are out looking for Korra because she's missing, of course, and they eventually find her in this little igloo shelter. Senna notices that looks like someone waterbent it, and they find Naga and Korra kind of snuggled up together, and she just says that, I didn't spend the night all alone. Naga was with me, and we just get that during the night she's obviously named the pup Naga, and she says, she's lost her pack, so she needs a new family now. Can I keep her? And the funny reaction that I kind of thought that we'd get comes in here when it's just like both Tonraq and Senna both go to each other, ask your mother, ask your father at the same time, and Katara just advises them both that, all avatars have had animal guides in the past. Perhaps Korra has discovered hers, and Naga might be just what a high energy girl like Korra needs. And they're like, oh, I suppose. And the whole idea is just like they'll tire out sooner or later, as we end with just this little montage of basically Korra and Naga growing up together. Initially their first time in the house, kind of running around wrecking the place. Korra sledding down an embankment on a slightly more grown-up Naga's back. What looks like about 12-year-old Korra jumping over a fence in a bigger Avatar compound on Naga when she's more grown up. We get the moment from episode 1 where Korra and Naga ride across the tundra that we see from the show, an exact replica of that. And then we get a Book 4 era Korra with Naga near Air Temple Island. So really cool way to end it, just showing how close the two of them are. It's nothing. There's not a lot of depth, I suppose, to this comic. I suppose is the main thing, but it is a nice story to get. It's one of those things where it's going to be a cute, fun story that draws people into Avatar. Perfect for Free Comic Book Day. The problem, I suppose, mainly being that there are no Korra comics out right now, and basically what this comic is promoting is more the show rather than Korra comics, in that the advertisement page at the end advertises Avatar comics, and then advertises the show and then the Korra art book as well later on. So no mention of the fact that there are Korra comics coming even. So there's all 4 Korra art books, and I suppose the show as well. But a little bit weird in that I get the idea when this was initially first planned that perhaps they thought the full Korra comics would be a little bit further along and perhaps they'd be able to advertise it, but obviously there seems to have been some delays. They're only planning to actually talk about the full-on Korra comics at San Diego Comic-Con this year, so they can only really advertise the Avatar comics. There's the back. So, it's one of those things where, like, because we only get one free comic a year, it makes each of them, like, really hyped and stuff like that, when we know it's only going to be 10 pages, whereas, like, I really think what they should do is that Dark Horse should definitely look into doing a lot more comics throughout the year like this, where whether it be just releasing a single issue that contains like 1 or 2 short stories, and have some new artists on board, so Gurihiru aren't doing all the work, and just tell a little story from Avatar, tell a little story from Korra, because stuff like this is great, and I can already see like the potential for like a bigger series focused around this time in Korra's life, and that I really like to kind of focus on Korra growing up and see the events in her life. Like, see when exactly the Red Lotus attack happens, that kidnap attempt happens. See that fight that happens, like Sokka and so on against Pali and stuff like that happens. See when the transition happens from like Korra going from waterbending to like firebending or stuff like that, like going through the elements, seeing who her teachers are for each of those elements, and so on. When the Order of the White Lotus get involved in her life, how the compound gradually forms over time, and Korra gradually becoming more and more kind of confined and less happy with the rules, because as I said, that there's a hint here that Korra's not fully happy with the way things are going, and that she thought it would be more fun, and there's more rules than she thought when she just wants to be a good avatar and know all of the elements and stuff like that. So this is good. I think it's probably one of the best free comics in that it's an important story, and it's an important story that only needed a short amount of time to go into. Like, we got touched on animal guides, we got touched on how they met, Tara and Roxana are here, we get a little bit with Katara, and just a general look at her life early in her training as the Avatar. It's cute, the dialogue is nice, the art is actually quite good. I really do like Heather Campbell's art style. I think at times it gets a little inconsistent in that some of the panels are like gorgeous and like super clean, the lines are great, and then other times some of the line art gets a little bit messy, and rather than it being like a smooth line like that, it's more like multiple kind of ways to get the curve around, and just some of the looks on like some of the hands, some of the hair at times go a little bit awry. So some of the smaller panels look amazing, but then maybe some of the bigger panels and a lot of the detail looks a little bit kind of like messy. So it's kind of been the way like that with a lot of the art styles on these comics, where for the most part it's really good. It's just a little inconsistent, but it's this artist's first time really doing a Korra comic. So if they do at some point do a like Korra Lost Adventures, I'd love to see Heather Campbell do some work on that. I think that's the main thing. Like, we'll go into this more in the podcast tomorrow. You'll see it on my channel or on the site. In that there's not often a lot to discuss specifically with these comics, but they are good, and it's just a little bit, I suppose, sad in a way that this is the comic this year to get people into Avatar comics, but it's a Korra one and there are no Korra comics out, and they don't actually mention that there are more coming, which I can't see as being the full plan when this was initially put in place. But highly recommended if you can get it. Obviously, you have to attend Free Comic Book Day to get a hard copy. Otherwise, you're going to be looking and waiting for people to get them on like eBay and stuff like that, and you're actually going to have to pay for a comic that is free. I went super early to get mine, going into the story of my Free Comic Book Day. My local comic book store opened at 9 a.m, but I arrived into the queue at 7:30. And there was already I'd say about 35 people in front of me. I was probably in or around 35 to 40th in the queue. So I had to wait about an hour and a half for the store to open up. When it did, they got through it really quickly because my local comic book store had just switched to a kind of bigger location. Before, the store could only fit about 5 people in it in total. This time around, they could fit a lot more people in. They had so much more space, and the queue went super quickly just to get through the first, 30 or so people in front of me. And yeah, it was just really simple. They had all the comics kind of on a table, kind of stacked up, and you just walked down one side, picked up the ones you want, came around the back and picked up the other ones that you wanted. And you could go into the store, buy some of the actual comics if you wanted, or just leave with the free comics. I picked up a couple of other ones, but in general, like, really, this was the only one I was actually like really eager to get. And they had a lot of them. Like, Korra was definitely one of the ones where, like, they had a lot of them. There are other ones where they only had like a smaller pile of them, but Korra definitely seemed like one of the ones they were kind of trying to promote fairly hard. But it was pretty easy this year. The problem in previous years, of course, was the store was small, and just to get through about 20 people in front of me, it would take another hour. This time, it was like 5 minutes before I got in the store, and it went pretty easy. But yeah, definitely, it's going to be a problem for some people, obviously. Like, if you can't go to your local comic book store early, you probably will miss out, and that's very disappointing for a lot of people. And, it definitely brings up the question of, when are they going to re-release all of the free comics in a collection at some point? Are they going to do that, or what? I'm definitely thinking of sending an email to Dark Horse about that, just regards to like Rebound, Shell, Sisters from last year, and then this one. I've actually forgot to tell you the name of this. The book is called Friends for Life. That's what the name of this Korra comic is this year, Friends for Life. We didn't know that before. So we have four current free comic books that are only available in the free comic book day books. So I think that's enough to probably put into a little collection and sell it, and I think a lot of people will buy that. But yeah, that's basically been the video. As I said, I'll go into a lot more depth on this comic in the podcast tomorrow when there's other people to discuss it with. For now, this was just a kind of brief review. I really liked it. There's not a lot to criticize about this. It's just 10 pages that tell a really nice story. And it's really well done. So if you can go to your local comic book store and get this, absolutely do, because it is the first Korra comic. It's definitely going to be something that's worth having in your collection, just to say that you managed to have a copy of this, because once a lot of Korra comics are out, like, this is going to be the one that's kind of technically the hardest to get. Like, it's going to be available digitally pretty easily, but in terms of having a hard copy of this is probably going to be one of the rarest Avatar comics there is. So if you're a collector, absolutely go and get this. But yeah, that's the video. So thanks for watching, and bye.